Welcome to the Conscience of Kansas radio show with Paul A. Ibbetson. A no-nonsense conservative talk show that looks at the local, state, and national issues that affect the people of Kansas. And now, here's Paul A. Ibbetson.
Ladies and gentlemen, Melanie Morgan has more accolades than I can mention in one lineup, but she is the chairman of Move America Forward, one of the largest pro-troop organizations in the country. She has been a radio personality for years. She is the co-author with Catherine Moy of the book America Mourning, just a wonderful and interesting book. She is a contributor to World Net Day. And Melanie Morgan, we'd like to welcome you to the Conscience of Kansas radio program.
It's a real pleasure for me to be able to join you on the show, Paul. As you may know, I'm a Midwestern girl myself, born and raised in Kansas City, Missouri, with ties all across Kansas and the heartland.
Well, I read that, and that's wonderful. And I know that being a person that's grown up in the heartland, and you understand our conservative values. And, of course, it's our honor and privilege to have you on the program. You have so many things you're doing, so many wonderful, worthy causes that you are a part of. And today I was listening to the tail end of the Rush Limbaugh show, and I heard him talking about Move America Forward. You are the chairman of Move America Forward. And right now you have a very worthy cause going on. Could you tell our listeners a little bit about that?
Yes, on June 26th, that's this Thursday, Michelle Malkin, the conservative blogger extraordinaire, has partnered with myself and Move America Forward to put on a very cutting-edge technological effort in order to raise the single largest number of care packages for our troops overseas in Iraq and Afghanistan in American history. What we're going to be doing is, using the star power, my very large Rolodex, and Michelle's technological abilities, and combining up to do a Jerry Lewis-style telethon on the web at ustream.tv that's starting at 3 o'clock your time and going for 8 hours. We are really honored to have such an extraordinary lineup. For example, Rush Limbaugh, which is why you heard him talking about us today. Rush is going to be joining us in the first hour of the program. We have my good friends Sean Hannity, Mark Levin, Ollie North, Laura Ingram, Dr. Laura, Monica Crowley, and from the Hollywood crowd, we have Kelsey Grammer from Frasier, as well as John Andronisic from Five for Fighting. He's a singer who has been extremely vocal about supporting our troops in Iraq and Afghanistan and around the world. So it's going to be an all-star event, and we are trying to raise money to make sure that every single troop member in Iraq and Afghanistan, 188,000 troops, can conceivably receive a care package. So we're very excited by this.
Wow, that's quite an effort. It's going to make for quite a July 4th holiday for the troops. And, yeah, what a star-studded lineup, the creme de la creme from the conservative talk world, as well as Hollywood individuals as well. That just seems to be part of the great work I see at Move America Forward. I've been an avid reader and follower of the writings, and I used some of the resources found there, as well as your own resources, going into this Code Pink interview I did with Jody Evans.
I watched that on YouTube, and I have to tell you, it was a pleasure for me to be able to watch the skill and deftness with which you handled Jody Evans, because you were very nice and polite to her, but at the same time, you allowed her the running room to take the rope and hang it around her neck.
Well, I appreciate that. And for myself, I've done a lot of interviewing, but I know enough to be very humble in this situation, because all interviewers that, whether you're a police investigator, which is the background that I come from, and others that just talk to people, you know that before you do an interview, you collect as much information as possible to be as educated and aware and to have knowledge of what you're talking about. And if I were to go back and show you my own little stack of stuff that I've made in preparation for the interview with Jody Evans, you're going to see writings of your own, as well as writings from Catherine Moy, Sharon Hughes, my good friend from Changing World Views there in San Francisco, and others that I collected before I went to speak to her. Those were the ammunition that I had. Those were the facts and details that she began to stumble with, and to give the American people a little glimpse of the leadership of Code Pink. And so really the credit goes to the people before me. And I tried to lay that out in a humble way in my article in WorldNet Daily, is that I'm glad that there's now audio evidence to the leadership of Code Pink. But what really that does is that is a validation from the lips of Jody Evans herself for a lot of the research and writing that you, as well as others, have done in the past. Could you tell us, our listeners, a little bit about your research process and some of the research you have done on Code Pink? Because it was just very valuable in this interview that I did.
Well, I first began to be aware of Code Pink about 5 years ago, but they really came on my radar most recently in the last couple of years, because my organization, Move America Forward, has been very involved in challenging what I call the peace thugs, the anti-war, or as I also refer to them as the anti-peace groups that are out there, who have been front and center. You see them on television all the time. For instance, Cindy Sheehan and Jody Evans and Medea Benjamin, all members of Code Pink, who have disrupted Congress, the presidential State of the Union address. They're always seen yelling and screaming and carrying on in Congress and getting ultimately thrown out. Code Pink insists that it is merely a feminist peace group, and I like to say that's kind of like comparing or akin to Adolf Hitler representing himself merely as a travel agent for Jews who want to see unknown parts of Germany and Poland. They've been in the headlines, of course, because they have been at the Military Recruiting Center in Berkeley, which is across the bay from where I live, and their stated vow is to drive the military recruiters out of Berkeley, because they claim that our troops are murderers, rapists, and thugs. And it is horrifying to me. It is absolutely unacceptable to me as the leader of a pro-troops organization that right in my own backyard, these people are throwing their public temper tantrums and getting away with public lies about their 501c3 status, which means they claim to be a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization, when in fact these are groups, along with World Can't Wait and other hard-left anarchist groups, who are actually being funded by organizations and people such as George Soros, the far-left multi-billionaire,
yes,
who's receiving money. And their effort really is to undermine America and to undermine the support for the troops and their mission in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Absolutely. And it appears that they also are actively working to infiltrate the local governments in places where they work and do their activist things. And so, they're trying to turn government officials, and I believe that some of that's happening in Berkeley as well.
Yes, that's right. And, most people don't realize this, but if you read the newspapers on a daily basis, from time to time you're going to see such and such city in America, the city government tries or votes to denounce the war in Iraq. That's all part of the project that Code Pink and the others are involved in, is to force government bodies to take a vote of non-support for the war in Iraq. And that is not by accident. It is definitely a stated goal of a communist organization and a Marxist organization. And I'm not being pejorative, I'm being descriptive.
Oh, yeah.
When I use those words, as you well know.
Yeah.
You picked up on that during your interview and asked Jody Evans about that, which I noticed she never really denied. She actually at first began to embrace it, and then probably realized the audience that she was talking to backpedaled a little bit away from it. But it is the truth. They do support financially Marxist organizations like World Can't Wait and Funk the War and other groups